Good evening, everybody. Welcome to NUFC 360, our preview show for the Leicester game. There's only Mark and myself tonight. Good evening, Mark.
Evening, Michael. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you again. And we are the Morecambe and Wise of the NUFC 360 crew, or Scrooge and Marley, depending on whose side you're on. We're just going to have a quick look back at our game against Bournemouth because we didn't manage to do a post reaction about that. Mark, what was your takeaway from the other night against Bournemouth?
Yeah, it was, I think the easiest way to sum it up is the main thing is that we got through. Didn't get any injuries as well, which was key. Wasn't the most vibrant game, to say the least.
Yeah.
Didn't exactly inspire, but yeah, we got through it. I think, Bournemouth came to keep things tight. They had a blueprint, for how to approach the game, which I mentioned in the preview for the Bournemouth game from earlier in the season. And they seemed like they just tried to execute that again. Can't blame them. Why not? Worked the first time. They seemed to, for me, they had this idea to sort of, sometimes we'll pass it out from the back, and it became very clear very quickly that they weren't good enough to do that. And they would just put the two big lads out wide, so they weren't up against our centre half, so our big lads at centre half, and they'd then boot it long after playing it short initially. So it wasn't really, they kind of reduced the game down to what it was, and therefore wasn't particularly entertaining. But it was nice to see us get through. And on another night, we'd have won by more. I think we were very unlucky to only win with 1-0. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but I feel like most fans that I've spoke to about it feel that way too.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of us were just glad to be back, weren't we? First of all, and with it being so near Christmas, that was nice as well. So there was a good feeling. Lots of kids in the ground again, which was nice as well for them. I mean, I thought I was quite impressed with Bournemouth. Actually, they stuck to their plan. They were very tactically. They were switched on, and they didn't switch off at all for 90 minutes. So I thought the referee was quite poor. Another one of those where 1 minute he's like, he'll give that, and then the next minute he won't. So if that goes offside or not, can you be offside if you're on your ass and the ball gets kicked against you? I don't know. I mean, again, that's biased. But yeah, it was good to get through, wasn't it? And get through, and we will play the team that we are playing on Monday, whatever day it is, Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Leicester City. So Leicester are in a really good vein of form before the World Cup, like ourselves. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not in the top couple of form teams. I think they lost one of the last 5, and we won all 5 of our last Premier League games. So what are we expecting then, Mike? What are you expecting from Leicester?
I think they've really sorted themselves out since obviously a horror start to the season. I can't remember exactly what their record was, but I'm sure they only had 1 point after, it was quite a fair number of games, like 5 or 6 games, something like that.
Yeah.
And, fair play to their goalkeeper as well, who had a horror start to the season. And I mean, I still don't rate him, but he's certainly improved based on the performances since.
Yeah, and definitely.
The lad they brought in at centre half, Fez,
however you say his name,
yeah, he's obviously found his feet. I don't think he had the best start either, but he's quickly turned that around. And I think Rodgers has stumbled upon a centre half pairing with him and Marty that kind of works. And Marty's not exactly had a great start of the season either, and I don't watch Leicester enough to know how good he is, to be honest. But from what I've heard from Leicester fans anyway, he's sort of solidified things as well, and the two of them have struck up a decent partnership. So yeah, from shipping loads of goals against everybody in the opening stages of the season, they've gone from that to having a pretty mean defence. I mean, obviously not as mean as us. You've got the best defence in the league, but they haven't conceded many lately. I say lately, obviously it's 6 weeks ago or whatever was the last Premier League game, just like us. But yeah, if you look at the form table, I think they're up there in the top 4, I believe. So fair play to Rodgers. He's turned it round when he really could have got the sack, and they'll pose a threat. They've got good players, and I think they just needed. And part of it was they just needed to remember that and get a bit of confidence. And obviously, shoring up the defence has given them that platform to push on. Having said that, the teams that they've beaten, it's not been the most difficult run of fixtures that they've had. So hopefully we can capitalize on that. And then obviously the big question mark's James Maddison. I think.
Well, we'll come to Maddison in a minute. I mean,
Mm.
when you talk about confidence, we've got to feel confident. We're third, they're 13th. They've lost 8 games. We've lost 1 against Liverpool away. Yeah. So is it still, are we still having the hangover of like a feeling? I mean, surely we should be going into this thinking, well, we're going to do this. This is going to be. This won't be easy, but this is definitely doable now. Or are you the same as me, where every game you go into, still are you thinking, oh, I don't know if we can. I don't know.
That was me, definitely. I'm getting away from it a little bit. I'm sort of in the middle at the moment. I think because they've had such an odd season, they've had a very yin-yang season so far, Leicester, it is difficult to say. I think we have to be aware of their threats. We can't take them lightly. I've no doubt Eddie Howe's not going to do that anyway. But it's not as easy a fixture as it might first present itself if you look at the league table and think about the amount of confidence that we've got, and rightly so. It might not be as easy as it first presents itself, but on the whole, I think we have to go in there with confidence. If it was at home, I'd be pretty damn confident that we get the result. Away from home, who knows? Who knows? If we go there, dig in, and get under their skin a bit and annoy the crowd, we could come away with all 3 points. I think as long as we keep it tight at the back, and I think defensively we looked actually pretty strong against Bournemouth, and that was a full strength team. And we'll come on to talking about potential starting lineups, but you got to imagine it's probably going to be the same back four. So yeah, I mean, I suppose quietly confident is probably the best way to describe it. But equally, if we came out of it with a draw, it wouldn't be the end of the world. There's teams. Good teams will go to Leicester and only get a point this season. That's fine. But
yeah,
let's go for the win. And the good thing is with Eddie Howe, he's going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've said this a lot this year, but what a difference a year can make, because it was just over a year ago that we played them at the King Power and we lost 4-0. So the difference this year, even if you're not overly confident about going in and you're still like me, rather cynical, we just know it's not going to be as bad unless we have a dreadful day, which is still possible because everyone does. I mean, we're not looking at anything like that, are we? Now, as you said, looking at Maddison, there's a chance that he might not play. So that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? It's got to be a good thing for us. So is he that important to them? I mean, is he there, Bruno? Can they still turn a performance over without him?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting comparison, isn't it? Because he is clearly, when you look at goals and assists, he is the superstar of their team, really.
Yeah.
You could maybe once upon a time argue that was Jamie Vardy, and obviously now he's in his waning years and doesn't actually even play every game. But Maddison is the standout player, both. I mean, obviously in stats, but I would argue on the eye test as well. He's probably the most talented player they've got, I think. And if he were to not play, that undoubtedly gives us an advantage. Is he as crucial to Leicester as Bruno is to us? It's a tough one. I think they've been playing him, if I'm not mistaken, out on the right, which maybe he's maybe not so much the fulcrum of the team out there, whereas Bruno definitely is for us in the centre of the park. But the comparison is apt enough for sure. So it will be interesting to see if he plays. I think as of, was it Monday, he was still in Dubai.
Oh, okay.
Which is unusual. I'm sure he was photographed in Dubai, and it's not like he can be that knackered. He didn't get any minutes for England. I know he was carrying an injury going into the tournament and all that, but I would have thought that's all the more reason to get him back, get him assessed by the physios, etc., and hopefully get him into training as soon as they can.
Yeah.
So for him to have been in Dubai as of Monday, it just seems weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless they've just wanted to, unless he's completely fine. The only reason I could see for that is that he's completely fine and they're just giving him a bit longer break, that he's just going to come back, train a few days, and he's just going to walk into the team.
Maybe.
Or it could be like, oh, the other way. Well, oh, he's not gonna play then, is he? Because he's obviously injured. So a bit like there's been quite a few of them. Calvin Phillips, another one for City last night. He didn't play last night, did he? He was not injured, even though he went to the World Cup. So, but anyway, we're not going to talk about the World Cup. And on to us, as far as we know, apart from our usual suspects of injuries, Isak and Dunnett and Kraft, we're injury free. So. Yeah. What do you think Eddie's going to do? Is he going to stick with the same 11 that he seems to like to do now, where he just rotates? It seems to be rotating between Longstaff, Willock, and Joe Linton in various roles. Or do you think he's going to make changes, considering how long the season's just got another game longer with our march through the League Cup?
Yeah, my gut says that he'll stick with the same team. I think. I think if he's not planning on playing this team that I'm predicting for the Leicester game, he doesn't put all those same players in against Bournemouth. I think he's really used that game as a springboard to go into the Premier League with and get all these lads, another 90 minutes under their belt, so that they're ready for the game. And obviously it has the added advantage of you putting out your strongest team to compete in the match anyway against Bournemouth, which we got through. So I think he'll stick with the same team based on that. I suppose the only major question would be, who do you play out on that left-hand side?
Yeah.
We had nominally Joe Linton played there, but in reality, him and Willock were switching their positions throughout the game. And neither of them really thrived when they were out there, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah. So ASM comes on, and for me, changed the game. So he could be the one starting on the left. Yeah. And it's an interesting one. I don't think Eddie Howe will do it, but my God, it's a nice option to have off the bench, isn't it?
It's brilliant. Yeah, this is what we were saying before. We've been saying to each other quite a while, isn't it? It's just nice to have these options now. I completely agree about Joe Linton thing. There's a lot of, well, not criticism, but a lot of not even concern, but a lot of the talk was like, is he really, he didn't really have a good game out there for against Bournemouth. He's much more effective in the middle. Maybe, Willock should stay out there. But like say, ASM coming back would just give us a lift, especially if Maddison doesn't play, because we've got out. I mean, it was so obvious when ASM come on. He does what he does, doesn't he? As my mantra about him is he drags that team forward. Love him or love him. He just got a touch about him that just invites the whole team just to move on, because he doesn't know what he's going to do. So we've got to keep up with him. So everyone's got to push forward just a little bit, because So I mean, I would like to see ASM. I would like to see John Joe Shelvey play as well. I think that would be, I think he needs the minutes now. Do you think that would be a possibility for him to come on instead of maybe Sean Longstaff or even Willock?
It's a possibility, definitely. I don't think he'll start, but again, nice option to have coming off the bench. If you imagine a scenario where everybody's fully fit and sort of up to match fitness as well, which I'm guessing John Joe Shelvey isn't quite at the moment.
Yeah.
John Joe Shelvey makes it into my Newcastle United starting 11.
Right. Okay.
And I agree with that comment there from Black Mamba as well. I don't think he'll play Maxi in this game. I think he'll work him back into the squad over time.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But on Shelvey, he makes my Newcastle starting team again, starting 11 in most matches, and I would play him instead of Longstaff. I just love the idea of having Cher and Botman with Shelvey in front. Any one of them can play a great pass. So if you're playing against a team where you're going to have a lot of the ball, and you're passing the ball around, all you got to do is keep passing it around. One of them gets half a yard, and they're capable of playing a brilliant pass. Yeah, and I think that's invaluable. So that Shelvey does make my Newcastle start 11 for most games. Against the top teams, I'd probably have Longstaff in there instead.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that there is a chance for him to prove himself. Everyone's forgotten as well. Pre-season, and he was looking really, really good, and that injury couldn't have come at a worse time. So really harsh on him, and I think Eddie is going to give him a chance, but at the same time it'll be tough because Longstaff's really proved his worth in this team. I think most fans appreciate that now, and Eddie Howe certainly does.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I was going to ask you, Michael. I don't know what you think as well about Dan Burn at left back.
You have read my mind.
Okay.
That was what I was going to say to you as well. Yeah, there was a couple of guys in front and behind me saying they don't understand the Dan Burn thing anymore. If Target's fit, then what why is Dan Burn playing there? Is he play? I've got no problem with him playing there. He doesn't do anything wrong as far as I'm concerned. And I think because of the way we like to play, which is pushing forward like a lot and being offensive, he's just that rock that can fill in everywhere. And he reads the game so well, and he moves really quickly for a big guy. He doesn't have to cover the ground quickly. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about Dan then? Did it surprise you that he's still there? Does it concern you he's still playing there? Or
definitely doesn't concern me. Does it surprise me? Probably not, just because he hasn't really made that many mistakes there this season, and he's been very solid.
Yeah.
Again, I would come back to this idea of different players for different opponents.
Yeah.
So much like I was just talking about John Joe Shelby there, when you've got more of the ball against some of the more mid-table to lower league teams, play John Joe Shelby instead of Longstaff. I think the same kind of applies with Dan Burn. If you're up against a team who are, we're not going to have loads and loads of the ball, it's going to be either a bit more evenly matched or they'll have more of the ball. I think Dan Burn's a great option because for all the reasons you just said, basically, pointless repeating them. But against Bournemouth, to me, I think Matty Targett should have been on the pitch. Probably at half time, we should have been. I was having a chat with the lads that I go at the game with, and we were all in agreement. We need Matty Targett on there because everything was going down the right, and Bournemouth. It got to the point where they were just like on the left. It was like, just if Dan Burn wants the ball, he can have it.
Yeah,
and that's not nothing against Dan Burn because he's absolutely fantastic, but he's not the kind of guy who's going to make loads and loads of overlapping runs and whip great balls into the box because he's a centre-half by trade. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
So as soon as they realised that, I think they really took advantage of it. So again, it depends on the opponent. Against Leicester, if you assume Maddison is fit and he plays on their right-hand side, our left flank, I think Dan Burn's a great option to play in this game. And you can always bring Matty Targett on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what I was saying to these guys was when we're only a third of the way through the season.
Yeah,
and as I said before, we've already extended that season now by one more game. If we want to do well in the cup, then we're going to have extra games there. I mean, the blessing is that we don't have Europe obviously at the moment. So I was saying to them, I think why change it unless it is, like you said, for a really good tactical reason.
Yeah,
when you're playing the long game, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and all those adages about that. But that's the only thing I can take away from it was that we've got a long way to go. The World Cup has not helped in that respect of thinking, well, we must be halfway through by now. No, we're not halfway through by now. We're only a third of the way through. So I completely agree about that. I didn't quite understand that criticism for sake of criticism. If it ain't broken, you don't need to fix it, do you? So, but we'll round things off. We'll do our usual predictions and put our next on the line. I'm going to be brave and say 2-2. So I just think, that I would literally put money on that. Not that I ever do, but what about yourself?
I actually haven't given this a lot of thought. I just think it's going to be a really tight game.
Yeah,
because our defense is so good and Leicester's defense has really, really stepped it up.
Yeah.
I might go with a 1-1, but equally, I could see either team sneaking it by a goal as well. A 2-1 either way. It's such a finely poised game. It's a really, really interesting game, and if we can win this game and win the Leeds game, it almost becomes a free hit then against Arsenal.
Yeah,
and I don't think we'll be taking any prisoners when we go there. I think we'll be going for it. So it's pivotal. It really is. It's pivotal. It's pivotal, and it's going to be, it's weird to have gone from 0 because World Cup, no Newcastle games, to all of a sudden straight in with an incredibly important match with no momentum really behind either side.
Yeah, I mean, while you think about it, about a prediction, well, no, you did say one, didn't you? So you're saying 1-1, didn't you?
I'll stick with 1-1.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, he's saying about the next couple of games, which obviously we'll be talking about at some point on here. It is the first step for me. Then Leeds, who are so unpredictable. And so unpredictable that I just could, I'm so looking forward to that. It's going to be such a weird game because I just don't know what they're going to do. They're either going to come and be great or they're going to come and be bloody awful. Yeah. So, and then, like say, Arsenal. So this is the first step. And what are, I think, really, really tough games, because everyone knows about us now. We're not getting any sort of like last year where it's like, oh, these lot are going to be easy. No one's going to roll over for us. Everyone's going to make it really tough. So I totally agree with you. This is just the first, this January is going to be crucial because, Arsenal away and then Leicester at home again. And then the FA Cup, which we could, I think we play in the next rounds in end of January, isn't it? Usually, isn't it? It's usually one at the beginning of January.
Oh, you mean if we get through?
If we get through,
right.
Yeah. I'm assuming we get through. So yeah. So yeah, I think it's the start of a really, really pivotal run. Even though, like I said, we're only a third of the way through. So that's our predictions: 1-1, 2-2. So we're going for a draw, which would be, I think we both agree, a very credible outcome. But if Madison plays, who knows?
I've just noticed there. Producer Mark's put something in the chat that's interesting as well. And this was at the back of my mind, but I forgot it. If we were to win, we'll be second in the league until Man City play.
Again,
I mean that would do wonders for the confidence going into the Leeds game.
We can't ask any more, and they've earned it. Really, they really have earned it, and it's such a great time to be a Newcastle United supporter. So on behalf of Mark and myself, we'll wish you all a happy Christmas or a Merry Christmas,
everyone.
And if we don't see you this side of the new year, a very good new year. And how are the lads? Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. See you next time.